Well, good evening. Thank you for tuning into a special K4CO radio evening. It's such an awesome Wednesday. I hope you're out enjoying this lovely weather. It is 70 degrees out, and we sure love it. So we have a special interview today. This evening, we are joined with Matt and Lindsey from Historic Englewood. Thank you guys for being here. How are you? How's the week?
Yeah, we're great. Thanks for having us.
Good, of course. Thank you for being
Happy to be here.
Good.
Thank you.
So you guys are a part of a lot of history in Colorado. I know there are a couple different names coming at us, so I want to hand it over to you all. Explain what Historic Englewood is. I know you all have, the museum in there. You've had different names, but you're a nonprofit and all of this really cool stuff. Josh and I are both natives here and would love history, and you are the history buff. So I'm going to hand it off to you.
All right. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
All right. So I'm Matt Crabtree. I'm the president of Historic Englewood. We're a 501c3 nonprofit in the city of Englewood. We've been around for about 12 years.
Okay.
Our organization originally started out as the Englewood Historic Preservation Society, and we recently rebranded to our name. Historic Englewood is a little easier to say.
It is. It is a bit of a mouthful. That's why I'm like, you all can take it.
There's a lot of great history in Englewood. A lot of great history in Colorado in general, but so much history in Englewood, and most of it, I would say, has gone kind of, away with the past, right? And people don't know that at one point in time, the largest airplane manufacturer in the world in the late 1920s was in Englewood, Colorado.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
No, me either, yeah.
The Alexander Eagle Rock aircraft was manufactured where the King Soopers is now on Broadway, but that area there, and they manufactured airplanes. One of the engineers that got started at Alexander Industries went on to create Mooney aircraft, so that heritage and that history still exists. Englewood's got a lot of great history. The gold rush, the Colorado Gold Rush really kind of started right in Englewood, Colorado, right at the right there in the center of Englewood. A lot of great history, a lot of amazing things happened over the years. In fact, we're talking about Cinderella City here and the Cinderella City project. Well, there used to be an amusement park in Englewood that was a competition to Elitch's and Lakeside and those. It was called Tuileries Amusement Park, and that actually was on a lot of land that eventually would become Cinderella City.
Wow. Okay. So I'm a native here, and I remember Cinderella City, but I don't remember the amusement park. I feel a little gypped on this because I was still pretty young. So Cinderella City, you probably know, you're the history buff. When was Cinderella City built?
It was in 1968. It opened.
The
construction was it was a bit of a long process to get to the actual grand opening. There was a lot of people that were for it and against it and whatnot, but it finally opened March 7th of 1968.
Wow. Okay. Were you a history major? Because you
No.
are. No. Oh my goodness. That actually surprises me. You're a history buff, though. That is for sure.
I am a history buff. I'm actually an engineer, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we had Cinderella City. I do remember that. And it was, and Lindsey, you were telling me, and I can't remember, it was Fantastic Nate's? Fantastic Sam's? What was
Fantastic Nathan's.
Fantastic Nathan's. I mentioned that today on the afternoon show. And I remember the metal ball. Do you remember this, Matt? Do you remember Cinderella City, like going downstairs?
I was very young then.
Okay. I was too. What are you saying?
I was older. I'm the old one here.
I'm sorry. I
it's
didn't mean to imply anything.
You're not offending me. Does it? Yes. But I remember I call it like the Medal of Death, where it was this circle that you would put in and they would spin you. That's what I remember about Cinderella City.
Oh, wow.
I know there's no history to it. I just like the fun thing that I can remember from it.
That's cool.
So what made you then kind of choose that area by Cinderella City?
For us to actually choose the area or the topic of actually doing the Cinderella City exhibit? Or
Both.
Let's start with the
Both.
area.
Yeah, the area, because it seems like there's a ton of history there. I never actually knew about the airplane.
Yep.
And about, that there was some competition for Elitch's. That's very cool.
Yeah, there was, early on it was Tuileries Amusement Park that was there. That closed in the 19-teens, right around, I think, 1914, I think that closed. There was a beautiful, beautiful old building there that was the dance hall and that would be eventually purchased by a company called the National Film Company. And they started filming movies there right before the era of talking movies and whatnot. And they actually filmed movies because it was a large lot of land. It was all natural back in there where the amusement park once was. National Film Company eventually closed, and that's when Alexander Industries came in. They also did film. They would do the film reels for the talkies that were coming, the actual, motion pictures with sound at the time. So they do these advertising reels ahead of all of the movies that were being played throughout the country. And these advertising reels would be shipped via the Postal Service, via train, around the country. When the Postal Service said, well, we can't actually transport these reels anymore because there's a fire risk. The film was very flammable then. That's when they decided to build their own airplane for their salesmen to go across the country and to distribute the film reels.
And this is when film just started to get sound into it, is what you're talking about. Okay.
In the early 1920s.
Gotcha.
And then the Alexander Eagle Rock aircraft was so great. They said, well, we can make this and sell these also. So not only were they making film reels there, but they were also making airplanes. The Alexander Film Company moved out in the 1930s. There was a terrible fire that happened there, and they ended up moving actually to Colorado Springs.
Okay.
At that point in time, Englewood took over the old Tuileries Dance Hall, which had been used as a film studio and whatnot, prior, and that became the Englewood City Hall for a long time. And the park area, or the area that behind that, became City Park, and that's what really led to the, because when Cinderella City and when Von Froelich came in to want to develop and create this huge mall, he wanted to take this park away from the people of Englewood. And there were a lot of people that were very upset. So there's actually protests and a lot of controversy at that point in time. There's a lawsuit, things along those lines. Go ahead.
I was just going to add that the city park was not just a park, though. It had, baseball diamonds. It had a huge pool. And a lot of these, amenities essentially were long established by other groups. Like, things had been restored by, like, the Lions Club, the Rotary. So there was a legacy there that was, being threatened to build this huge mall. And so, yeah, there was a lot of unrest in Englewood, and they were quite against it to begin with.
So one of the requirements was the developer had to purchase land around the city to equal the amount of parkland that they were taking.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's why Englewood has the parks they do now, and because they're really kind of these little pocket parks that are around the city. And so anyway, it eventually got approved. They built the mall. It was the largest mall west of the Mississippi for many years.
That's
Really?
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know
yeah.
we had so much history here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go Cinderella City. I mean, well, sort of. Can I kind of cheer from the sidelines? But
Yes.
I try to look at the silver lining on things. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it was here because it brought me a lot of fun as a child.
Oh yeah,
And it also got more parks. So I think we kind of lucked out.
yeah. There you go.
It was a really big mall when I was growing up.
It
I
was,
mean, and
yeah.
pretty popular too. But yeah.
I think, was it 70% of tax revenue over a 15-year period?
Yeah, there was a significant tax benefit to the city of Englewood when it first opened. That was, and it was really marketed on its grand opening that this was going to be the new Englewood. And that it really did mean that for many things. I mean, the city had money that they never had before from a retail, from a retail aspect.
One other thing, though, too, is that there was actually offices in the Cinderella City Mall. Some were, city offices. There was an adjunct for the high school there on the upper level, I believe, of the Rose Mall. Additionally, it was originally titled New Englewood. So we have some, I know we're going to get to it, but when you come down to the museum, we have some original drawings from the pitch. And it's referred to as New Englewood.
That's awesome. I actually think I was telling, of course, some people about this, and I know you have exciting news coming up, so I don't want to get into quite yet. But I was letting my family know, and I believe we actually know some of the artists that are a part of that, and it's amazing. I think this is really cool to preserve what you all are doing, because like I said, Josh and I are natives, but I truly don't really know the history of it. And so thank you for knowing the history of Colorado. So
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's interesting too. I think in my mind, the United States, a lot of times we tear things down and rebuild, tear it down and rebuild. Whereas, you go over, across the pond to like Europe or something like that, they preserve and everything like that. And I did have a real question for you real quick. So Cinderella City, I guess, only lasted 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And was there any main reason? Was it just low shopping that actually occurred, or what kind of led to that going down? Do you know?
Well, I think there was a real shift, in the 90s. We started to see the shift of shopping malls going away and having the open air malls, or big box type stores. A lot of what Cinderella City was, especially with Cinder Alley, was those small little businesses, the kind of boutique shops and stuff like that, and that's what really thrived in Cinderella City and other areas in the city too. And when the big box stores came in, like Walmart and all these places like that, right? I mean, that really affected a lot of that.
Right.
So it was interesting because a lot of malls did survive longer than Cinderella City did. Cinderella City was one of the earlier ones. There was actually, I don't know if you guys remember Villa Italia Mall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was done by the same developer. That's it out in Lakewood. It lasted longer, but not much longer than Cinderella City did. So, I think just the shift in the way people shopped. The early days, they did really well. There was a period in the 80s where the mall started to...
Yeah, I would add that there was some significant factors with architecture. The original mall's design, a lot of complaints over the years of it being dark. So at one point in the 80s, there was a huge renovation. And they actually painstakingly punched holes from the top floor into the bottom to shed light. They put in skylights where there wasn't skylights. I mean, they awesome. Invented the food court. They took away the fountain and had a food court that you could from the top level look down into the food court, to bring the levels together more. So there was some things with infrastructure and just the design of it all. It was hard to get around in that mall. It didn't matter how hard you looked at the directory. It could still be very confusing.
That's why I liked it. It was fun. It was like a little maze. Where am I?
Oh yeah, you could get lost there for sure.
I'm lost no matter what, so it doesn't really matter. That's why I was put in that little circle of death, and I would be tormented until I puked. So my parents didn't care. So yeah, very fun. Well, how did you all kind of get your foot in the door then? Because with so much history, I mean, that's pretty amazing to have you all be there.
I'm sorry. Can you reiterate the question? Do you mean
sure.
how did the museum come about? Or?
Well, yes, and actually to get in this location, because there's so much history there, right, for Englewood. So I know you all focused really on this area, and it seems like it's actually starting to bud up again a little bit.
Absolutely.
And to have more restaurants. I went there a couple of weeks ago. Restaurants are starting to come there, and offices. And so it's how are they kind of finding this location? So with offices, I mean, how do you get your foot in the door?
Can I answer that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I would just want to give you just a little bit of background about the organization in general.
Sure.
So originally the organization was formed because there was a piece of property that was going up for sale, and there was a historic society prior to our historic society that had disbanded many years ago, and they had this piece of property, and it was always intended to be a museum of some sort. And so when this came up for sale in the city, there was this group of citizens that had come to a city council meeting and said, oh my gosh, we should do something. We should try to save this property. We should try to make it a museum. And so that's how the new historic society was formed 12 years ago. And that was part of that original group.
Yeah.
So I joined probably 6 months later, and we did an RFP. And unfortunately, we weren't chosen, but our dream has always been to have a museum. And honestly, if it wasn't for city council and our amazing city manager, who also has a love of history, this would not be happening. We had a very rare and unique opportunity to occupy some space in City Hall, which we haven't mentioned yet, is the last remaining structure of the Cinderella City Mall. It was a Broadway Southwest department store. Then later, Mady Enough, and then when Foley's eventually bought out Mady Enough. And the building was not very old when the museum was demolished.
When the mall was.
When the mall was, sorry. When the mall was demolished. So the city, I mean, which, you know, we were talking about, it's kind of unheard of, you know, to keep these buildings. But they kept this building.
Right.
And they re-envisioned it into the city hall. So, you know, we have the library there. There was another museum that occupied some space on the second floor. And when they vacated about a year and a half ago, it, you know, came to the city's attention like, oh, what could we put there? You know, so that's where the conversation started. So we see this as just the most unique and awesome opportunity that we've been given to be able to share this history locally, to be in one of the last in the last remaining structure of Cinderella City.
Right.
You know? So it's super exciting.
A wonderful opportunity, yeah. So when you walk through the doors of City Hall in Englewood, you don't realize that you're actually walking through the last part of Cinderella City that exists.
That's awesome.
And being provided the opportunity, because, you know, like what Lindsey had mentioned, is that we all got together because we wanted a museum, we wanted to save a building in Englewood. So that depot, that's the train station depot right there at Dartmouth and Galapago or whatever, that building, you know, we wanted that as a museum. We lost that opportunity, but we continued on, and eventually, you know, the opportunity opened up to have something even bigger and greater, right? And that's a wonderful space in City Hall. And it was very fitting to have that as the, you know, Cinderella City as the first exhibit of our museum because, well, you're standing in the last remaining part of Cinderella City. And a lot of people didn't know that.
That's
Right.
very cool. I didn't realize, really, this has been kind of 12 years in the making.
Yeah.
I love it. This is why I love interviews. It's because I do. It just is so inspiring, not only to learn about Colorado, but it's the journey. Like, this little seed is implanted 12 years ago and you have this vision. And then a year and a half ago, it's like, you know, now a door has really opened where we can now embrace the community even more so. So that's a pretty cool little dream there coming to fruition. Yeah. We're going to take a quick music break. So hang tight. We will be back right after this. We have Matt and Lindsey with the historic Englewood. Thank you for tuning in. K4CO Radio. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to a special interview with us. We have two members of the historic Englewood here with us. We have Matt and Lindsey, and they are letting us in on lots of cool secrets and little tidbits of knowledge all over, especially Englewood. That is where they, of course, are located. And it's amazing for us as natives and for anyone living in Colorado. This is fabulous. I didn't know 99% of this. I knew Cinderella City, and other than that, it was the Wheel of Death. So that's my history lesson right there. I wanted to get more into that. I know a lot is from Englewood, but Lindsey, I wanted to get a little bit over to you. What got you involved in this nonprofit, and what is a little bit of your background that makes you get excited to work there?
Absolutely. So I am a native as well, and so is Matt.
Oh, nice.
So we'll have to have a local powwow later.
I like it.
Yeah,
Nice.
definitely.
I've been in Englewood almost 20 years, and I used to commute home from work and would pass the train depot. And when I heard that it was up for sale, I wanted to get involved. And so there was actually a banner that was like, help save the depot. And I was like, how do I get involved? And I was actually working part-time too at a little local church, one of the oldest churches in Englewood, Mayflower Congregational Church. I was doing some admin and graphic design work for them. And a local historian for the church said, oh, there's a new historic society, you should get involved. And she gave me a flyer one day. And the next thing I knew, I went to one of their meetings, and pretty much the rest is history. I've been involved ever since. My background is communications, graphic design, marketing. So that's what I bring to the table. But I've also been acting as the museum coordinator this year. I like to say that I'm Matt's right-hand man. If he can't go to a meeting, then I go, or vice versa. And, because we all are volunteers. We all have full-time jobs. I am actually the executive director for the Greater Englewood Chamber of Commerce. So also Englewood again. And I love my position there because it is just such a community-driven town. People honestly want to support other businesses, chamber members. It's you run into people all the time that you know. I mean, it is a small town. It has a small town feel, and we like that, and we want to preserve that. And part of that is also preserving the history. So that's my involvement for getting, where I am today. So Historic Englewood is definitely a labor of love, and it's my passion project.
That is awesome. It is such a small town. I know Josh and I met with Domingo this afternoon, who's the president of the chamber. And he said, you know who you need to meet? And I'm like, we're going to meet them in 4 hours. So, I mean, it's just so amazing when you do get involved in the chamber and nonprofits. It's such a small community. And why I love it is there's a ton of overlap. And it's about preserving. It's about lifting up. It's about partnerships and community. And that's exactly what you all are talking about. So thank you for bringing that awareness and education to all of us. And I did want to go into more awareness and education about Englewood because, man, Matt knows everything about Englewood that you're going to need to know over the past 100 years. We have a lot of patents from here, a lot of things that were made. So let's have it.
Well, so, I think actually probably one of the neatest things that Englewood had influence on was the ironworks facility that used to exist. There was a foundry there. And it wasn't just any foundry because during World War II, they found, they actually forged a lot of the gearing systems for the turrets on battleships. And they contributed right here in Englewood, right in Englewood, Colorado, contributed to the war effort during World War II. That's since been redeveloped now. General Iron Works, moved out, 20 years ago, I guess, but 30 years ago. That's now condominiums where it sits there. But, it's important to know the history and especially the influence that Englewood had. There's other patents. I mean, like Merrill Industries, which I think is a company that may still exist in Englewood. They've been around Englewood since, a long time. I don't even know how long on that, but they in the 1940s they invented the Merrill wheel balancer, which was one of the early tire and wheel balancers for large trucks and automobiles, and kind of paved the way for later technologies to come along. It made the list of IEEE. Basically the amazing engineering, of the 19th century or 20th century. 20th century. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you were talking about road signs. What is the connection with that?
Yeah. So one of the early models for highway road signs to try to get people to exit left or right or, narrow down to one lane was invented in Englewood.
That's pretty amazing. We have so much history. Josh, did you know any of this?
I did not. I have no idea.
I will look at road signs totally different. I'd be like, that was here.
Right?
We're going to take full credit. I can't, but, Englewood can. So I appreciate it. So this is cool. So really a year and a half ago. So 12 years, I know that the idea was planted. That's when you all started with the nonprofit. And a year and a half ago, so what all have you done in the past year and a half to get ready for what's about to happen in a couple days?
Wow, this was a long process. Lindsey's kind of our museum coordinator along with the communications director, so I'll let her take over on talking about the museum. But it's been a lot of planning, a lot of work.
Okay, I'm sure.
Yeah. Gosh, where should I start? Okay, so if I pigeonhole it to the last year and a half, obviously, going in front of city council, putting together, a wish list, trying to secure funding, those kind of things, applying for SCFD status, which we did receive. We're super excited about that. We can take advantage of some of those grants moving forward, hopefully. We settled on this. I want to tell you why we settled on doing the first exhibit about Cinderella City. I mean, we touched in part about the building itself and how we're in the building. So that's obviously really an important one. But I want to talk for just a couple seconds about the Cinderella City project. So Josh Goldstein is one of our, he's our board secretary. He's a former architect, and he also works for AutoCAD up in Boulder. So he's a software, engineer of sorts program. He has created some of this amazing technology that architects use. And he started as a passion project 4 years ago, maybe over 4 years ago now, recreating the Cinderella City Mall in a 3D format.
Really?
It's a simulation. It's amazing. And, just to watch how the iterations, how it's changed from where he was 4 years ago to where it is now. And you can literally time travel between the decades. He has, photographs that match up identically where you're walking within the mall. You can go upstairs, downstairs, down Shamrock Lane, go visit, go right and stand in front of Fantastic Nathan's again.
Is the Wheel of Death in this?
There's no...
You and that Wheel of Death.
Yes.
Josh, if you're listening, when I see this exhibit, I'll make one.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
There's not really any interiors at this point, and I'm not sure that that's in the cards at the moment, but just that is one of the main draws to this exhibit, is that everyone has an opportunity to view, the history, some photographs, read about it, see some of the artifacts that we've been able to secure that we're so excited about. I don't want to give too much away.
Right.
But we have a theater within the museum space where you can literally sit down and walk through the simulation.
Oh my gosh.
And we even have Matt can talk more about the technology that they put together and to make the theater happen. But one quick thing before I turn it over to Matt is Josh has lectured. We have an ongoing lecture series that we try to offer every month, and that has been going on since our start. We also have, a monthly newsletter. We've, always been involved with the schools. We've participated in all kinds of city events. So that's been ongoing forever. And one of our lectures that was the most well-attended lecture was Josh lecturing about the Cinderella City project. And, it brought people of all ages, not only, an audience from Englewood, but, millennials that are interested in dead malls and just wanted to learn more. New folks and families moving into Englewood that actually care about the history of where their house was, or why their house, exists where it does. One of our board members, actually, his house was moved originally from its location to make way for Cinderella City Mall. It was literally moved to the location it's at now. There were several houses, I think, was it like 12 or 25 houses that were uprooted, put on a truck, and driven to a new location. And one of our board members lives in one of those houses.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
Well, I wanted to expand on the Cinderella City project because, I've got an engineering background, so I kind of really nerd out on this. But, a lot of people, when they do like the walkthroughs and it's almost like a video game of sorts of going through this, but it's not just a 3D model. Josh built this in this software from the original architectural plans.
Wow.
So it's dimensionally accurate.
Right.
Okay.
And he periodically, when we were, playing around with it and whatnot, he'd show, oh, well, above the ceiling, there's this. And and he would, show the view in the 3D model of what's above the ceiling. Most people, we won't be showing that as the normal, part of the exhibit, but it's just amazing how much detail is in that. He recreated the mall virtually, dimensionally accurate. You can walk down Cinder Alley. You can walk down, the Gold Mall. You can see the fountain from 1968. You can see the food court from 1985, and if you miss the mall and you want to reminisce about it, you can actually go on. We actually have a controller in there now, so if you really want to get fancy, you can actually, like a video game, walk through the mall.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Can I do that?
Absolutely.
That would
please.
be really fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is really cool. Thank you for explaining that to me, to us. So this would attract, I think, a lot of different people. Like you said, all different ages. So if it's like a history buff, for those, that are just moving to Colorado and know nothing about it. Because a lot of times I ask people, and you guys might too, being a native, it's like, what brought you here? And I hear kind of the similar thing. Well, you guys are really outdoorsy in mountains. And it's like, hey, we have history too. Yeah. Why don't you come learn about now where you're living? So, and especially this area has been booming. I mean, it's Englewood, Littleton, Centennial. We all kind of are blending together a little bit. I grew up, I don't even know what to say and now if it's Englewood or Centennial, because it's all different kind of boundaries, and it's cool to know houses were moved. There's a mall going in. We're going to forklift you and put you in a different location. So that's very cool. Do you have anything else to add?
No. I'm just
I'm
kind of fascinated. I'm looking forward to it just because I remember being a kid and being in Cinderella City and we used to go there quite often when I was young, and yeah. It's really cool, especially since, you know, I was talking about this earlier on a show where, you know, they're trying to save the El Chapultepec, the jazz bar, because a lot of it is just, you know, you tear it down and then you put something new into its place. And I like the preservation. And this is just a really cool way that, even though it's not preserved except that one building, where you can actually just go back in time, and it's it's really cool. So do people, so that our listeners know, I mean, is this kind of like a, you're looking at a screen and going through it? Is this like a VR type thing? Like what type of, how can you go through this Cinderella City Mall when you walk in?
It's not VR. I would love to be able to do that.
Right.
Maybe someday we can.
That'd be awesome.
We
Yeah.
can get that together. That would be pretty amazing.
Right.
But right now, the theater, it's a 165-inch screen that's in there.
Oh, okay.
Nice high resolution projector. You can sit in the theater. We got seating for plenty of people to sit in there and watch it. And,
Nice.
And big screen, gigantic screen is very immersive.
Very cool. Very
Awesome. Okay, so if your Josh is listening, can he do a virtual Wheel of Death? Can I
Oh,
plug,
man.
Can I plug that a little bit? I mean, that's what I remember about Cinderella City. I'm just throwing that out there. That'll be on my wish list. So I get it. No promises will be made, but you know, I have to shoot for the stars. That's
Right.
what it's all about.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Well, I know we have exciting news to get to, but we're going to take another quick little music break. So, yeah, we will get to that right after. For those of you listening, we've been chatting with Matt and Lindsey with the historic Englewood.
You are.
Thank you for tuning in to a special interview with K4CO Radio. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We have been chatting here with Matt and Lindsey, the historic Englewood. For those of you that are just tuning in, don't you worry. We are going to have this posted on our YouTube page here in another day or so, so you will get the full interview just in case you missed it. This is one that you want to listen to. If you are interested in all about history or Colorado, or you're a native here like me, my mind was just blown for the past hour because I didn't know any of this, and I grew up in the Englewood Centennial area, so it's very, very cool. So thank you all for being here and shedding some light on our history. So you all have some very exciting news that this has been really 12 years in the making, and then the past year and a half from maybe a little bit of work. Yeah, just a tad bit. I know nonprofits just get slapped together overnight, and there's no behind the scenes. So thank you for your endless hours and work and volunteers and boards and all of that goes into it. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited for the 3D and all at the theater. It sounds very awesome. I'm going to really kind of geek out. I'll use your words and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know, it's reminiscing. So tell us what is going to happen on Saturday.
All right. So Saturday, we'll have a grand opening. I mean, we've had a soft opening for the last month or so. We're kind of getting things, learning how to run a museum because we've never done this before. But on the 22nd on Saturday, we're gonna open our doors at 10 a.m. The ribbon cutting will happen at right around 11 a.m. The Chamber of Commerce, the Englewood Chamber of Commerce, will be there to kind of help us with that. Lindsey can elaborate on that a little bit more. But grand opening. We're really excited.
Nice. This is a huge deal. A ribbon cutting for a new museum is a huge deal. So awesome, Lindsey. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't wait
ahead.
to be there. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say we have some special guests coming. So we're super excited to have you guys there on Saturday. We have just had met you in just a couple of weeks ago, and already we feel so much support from you guys.
Aww.
So it means so much to be getting to talk to you here today and getting to share this story with not only you but the listeners. I will say we're really excited because our mayor will be there, some of our city council members, our city manager, Sean Lewis, who I mentioned earlier, who has just been, kind of a guiding light in helping to bring this to fruition as well. And we will have some surprises too, some appetizers, beverages, some giveaways. So come on down.
I like it. I like when the carrot gets dangled like that.
Right.
Very cool. Well, thank you for having us. No, we love being a part of the community event. So we'll be there from 10 to 2. So this is at 1000 Englewood Pkwy, Englewood, Colorado. So for those of you that know the old Cinderella City Mall, that's where it is. And again, it's 10 to 2 this Saturday. June 22nd, with the ribbon cutting actually happening at 11. So yeah, yours truly, K4CO Radio, will be there broadcasting live. And for those that are listening that want to be on the radio, we do interviews remotely. So you guys are going to probably jump on again if you have time and would like to. We like being remote and being there, like actually seeing it with you. It's very, very cool. So yeah, we'll have our videographer there. So it's going to be a big party. We're pretty excited for it.
It's going to be fun. It's a pleasure to be there too. And I am curious. So you guys are a nonprofit and everything like that. It's been years in the making and a lot of work and even funding. So where you even mentioned, I think, a little bit of grants as well. Where have you gotten your funding for this incredible thing?
Yeah. So historically, we've been reliant upon membership, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can join as a member of Historic Englewood. It's very reasonable. It's like $25 a year. And we have a lot of, and that's not that bad, right?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of members that have supported us over the years. And that's where we've gotten most of our funding from is internally, right? With that. Recently, we have gotten SCFD status, and that's a huge thing. I realize that operating a museum now that we've done this is a very expensive endeavor, and so support from our membership and support from SCFD will be a big help. The City of Englewood did contribute a grant to help us kind of get going with this. So we're very grateful for City Council and the members of city staff that helped us navigate that. And we like to think that we're contributing to that space and drawing people in. So it's definitely a win-win from both scenarios, and we're grateful the City of Englewood was able to provide us a grant to help us get started. And our continuing operations will be reliant, largely on our membership, supporting us and helping us, and hopefully SCFD in the future too. So,
and even in the sport, Saturday. Sorry about that. It's been a long day. Saturday when you go down, you can support too, because when you show up, you can actually, give some money and support you guys in what you're doing. And so everybody needs to be there by 10 o'clock. Just want to make sure.
No, you can come and go. If you want to be part of the ribbon cutting, try to be there before 11.
Okay. Perfect.
If you're not able to make the ribbon cutting, that's okay, because we're still going to be open till 2 p.m.
Gotcha.
Awesome. For our listeners, for those that want to get involved and are listening and are like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever, which I'm going to be involved because I'm a native here. I want to be a part of the history. So if they want to help support either on a volunteer basis or if they want to help support financially, what is the best way to find you and how can they help? Like, where is your biggest need?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I would say they're welcome to email or call us at any time. Our email is contact@historicenglewood.org. They can visit the website for more information. They can sign up for the newsletter to get more involved and find out what things are coming down the pipe. We definitely need volunteers, not only to, hopefully help with running the museum, to give some of our other volunteers a break from time to time, but also with archives. Matt mentioned General Ironworks earlier. We were fortunate and lucky enough to receive a large portion of their archives when they left Englewood. And we have yet to even discover what is in those archives. So having a couple of volunteers that are history buffs, that are interested in those kind of things. I mean, we're talking blueprints, patents, how many filing cabinets filled with stuff?
At least 10 filing cabinets filled with microfiche and actual blueprints and engineering drawings and
oh my gosh,
all of these things over the.
Can I go do it?
Yeah,
that sounds amazing. Original blueprints. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So a treasure trove just waiting to be archived, and who knows, it could be an exhibit down the road.
Yeah,
you could be firsthand part of, picking items to be on display.
That's awesome. And for our listeners also that follow us on Facebook, we're going to have this information there readily available to have your website and your phone number, 303-242-3257.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. They can get in touch with you that way or email, and you guys are on Facebook as well.
Yes.
So lots of ways to get involved. People will always take money, no matter what. Donations are always great. But if you get a volunteer, that's pretty cool to go through some of the original blueprints. I mean, I've been in nonprofits for 30 years. I've never gotten to do that. So I might have to spring at that just to say I'm a part of Englewood history and I want to see some original blueprints.
I'm really looking at what's going to be displayed there. Yeah, exactly. You know, I love just the artifacts of history. So, I mean, I'm one of those. I love the History Channel. And I love all that fun stuff. So, especially being native here, and I remember just being a kid going there. So, yeah, it's going to be great.
They're reminiscing.
Yeah.
And I know you wanted to get into City Spark. Tell us a little bit about that space.
Okay, that is another thing that we are so excited about. I mean, it's like, you know, when it rains, it pours. Well, it rains, it pours in good ways for us right now. Nice. City Spark is basically a reinvigoration of the area surrounding the City Hall area. So there has been notoriously, you know, just some vacant retail space that has not been occupied for a long time. And with the formation of the Englewood Downtown Development Authority, one of the things that they're trying to do is reinvigorate that area. So they have this wonderful creative idea to combine a couple of groups to occupy that space. So we were chosen to occupy this wonderful little storefront that actually faces Nixon's Coffee. So if you are familiar with the area, we are just going to be catty corner from Nixon's. It used to be a salon. So we have a little bit of work to do some updating in there.
But you could get your hair done while you're doing it.
Exactly. But it offers us kind of an extension of the museum. We're able to, you know, be open during city summer concert series, the markets. We can have a little bit of a retail hub. We can have some more exhibits to display. We will have our actual office will be there. And that's just, I mean, we literally just got the keys it's been about a month. So,
nice.
But what I should mention is that in the same area, the Guild co-working space is next door to the City Hall building. They are also part of the City Spark space. So they were able to add, you know, some additional offices and a wonderful community room that's available, you know, to rent. I think it seats 45 people. So if you wanted to, you know, if you're a local business and you wanted to offer a class and you need a space to rent, the Guild is who you should talk to because there's this great community room available. Or, you know, if you're looking for co-working space, reach out to the Guild. Additionally, Redline Studios, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's art studios. They have a really big following and operation already in Denver, but this will be another spot location for them. So we are so excited to be partnering with these two unique groups to put on additional programming, you know, to have our doors open, to work with the Englewood Downtown Development Authority, the city, to just reinvigorate this whole area. So super excited.
That's amazing. Yeah. You're right. You have a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe here. That is so awesome. We're thrilled to be now connected with you, and thank you for again opening our eyes up to this very cool history. Anything else that we wanted to cover that we hadn't mentioned yet?
Well, you know, we look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday, 1000 Englewood Parkway. We're up on the second floor of the building there. Welcome anybody. Would love to have you all there, and love for people to see the museum. It's going to be really exciting.
I'd just like to do one little shout out. I would really like to just support our board and our volunteers with making this mission possible. If it wasn't for them and the hours and the energy and everything that they put forth, this wouldn't be happening. So I just want to give them a shout out.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. It really takes a village with a nonprofit, and there's so many things behind the scenes that people don't see. You know, it's the ribbon cutting is the end of the finish line, and sometimes even the beginning of the finish line, right? So you have hundreds and thousands of hours. This wasn't like, hey, we decided to do this yesterday. This started 12 years ago. And then the past year and a half, I already know, I can picture it now, how many hours it takes. And it truly is a village. So thank you. Yeah, to all the volunteers that have put in their time, their effort. It does. It's so awesome. And I'm happy for you guys. Again, those that are listening, please come on Saturday. This is going to be really fun. It's this Saturday, the 22nd of June. And I'll do a little shout out. It is Josh's birthday that day. Sorry, had to. So this is really special that
It'll
he's
be a
going
good birthday present. I can go back in time.
You actually get to
know?
go back
Yeah.
in time and be a part of a ribbon cutting.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
That'll
a
be
pretty
cool.
cool birthday present. So hey, I see she got to do a plug. I have to do a plug too. So come down on the 22nd this Saturday. Again, it's at 1000 Englewood Parkway in Englewood. It's where the old Cinderella City mall was. And if you want to get involved, go dig through some archives because that sounds pretty amazing. Their phone number again is 303-242-3257. Again, the ribbon cutting this Saturday from 10 to 2. The ribbon cutting is around 11 a.m. If you can come by and say hi, we'd love to see you. K4CO Radio will be there doing interviews and hanging out with the mayor. That's pretty cool. Well, awesome. Well, Matt, Lindsey, thank you so much for coming in. Again, this has been such a pleasure. Awesome to have you. And we will see you all again on Saturday. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in to a special K4CO Radio this evening. And enjoy your evening music. We'll be back tomorrow.